What's going on? Alin here, El Copy and today we're going to be breaking down some insanely good copywriting ads. 3 really compelling ads, some of my favorite ads of all. But before we dive in, please do me a very quick favor. Hit like on this video if you want to see more content like this. Go ahead and hit the subscribe on the channel so I know that you want me to continue making videos to make you an even better copywriter. So with that said and done, and now that you've done that, let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, I've whipped together a document here to make this really easy. In fact, I've made this document accessible to you. So if you like what I'm about to show you, you can grab and save the document for yourself. So that way you can have it whenever. You just got to hit the link in the description below. You put in your email and I'll send it to you. Okay. All right. So insanely good copywriting ads. The first ad that I want to break down is one of my favorite ads by Timex. Now I'm a big watch guy, so this one resonated with me a ton. I wear a mechanical watch or analog watch, whatever. I don't wear a smartwatch, so I thought this was really hilarious and funny. So in navigating that, you have the big billboard, the white billboard with the one watch, very simple, clean. I like that design aesthetic. And the tagline is, know the time without seeing you have 1,249 unanswered emails. That's a great tagline. Let me break that down, what that means, because there is a lot to unpack there. First off, before we break it down, actually, the thing that you got to know, obviously, is that who they're taking a jab at, why this actually makes sense. And that is because the context of the ad. We live in the smartwatch era. So the context of this ad wouldn't have worked in the 80s and the 90s when big copywriters like Gary Halper, Gary Bencivenga, John Carlton, when these guys were putting out ads. So that's important because the context of what makes the ad powerful is as powerful as the ad itself, right? The copywriting itself has to culturally make sense. And this obviously makes sense because they're taking a jab at smartwatches. So understanding your industry, why you're writing, and what people are going through personally, this is talking to the reader, because your ideal reader, hopefully, is wearing a watch, right? But their problem is that they're frustrated with the watch, and this is one of the frustrations. And let's break this down a little bit, right? Let me give you some logistics as to why this ad is so good, and then some extra context. Is 1, know the time. That is a benefit, clear benefit. It's so simple though, is that watch owners like myself simply want to look at our wrist and know the time. And it seems like watchmakers have lost their way because they've stuffed so much into a watch, the smartwatch category, is that it's not just know the time, it's know your calendar and check your messages and check your emails and check the weather and track your runs and all these things. And they sell it as such an amazing thing. However, this one is coming back down to the core benefit, which I love in an ad. So the unique selling proposition, the USP, is know the time. Very simple, and simplicity often wins an advertisement, right? And then the next part, I want to stop at the without. Without is a great way to make your ad even more unique. And what that's called is it's a constraint. So a lot of times people will be like, lose 10 pounds without giving up carbs. Okay, that without is a constraint. And so they use that constraint here, know the time without, right? And then they're going to talk about the other side of it. But that's a really smart play in advertising. You want to add a constraint, whatever, to make it more unique to whatever you're selling. So know the time without what? Seeing that you have 1,249 unanswered emails. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is the 1,249. That real specific number just makes it believable, right? It makes it feel real. It makes it feel like you genuinely looked at your smartwatch and saw 1,249. They could have said 1,000 without 3,000 unread emails. And those numbers just feel fictitious. They feel fake. They feel like they're not well put together, that somebody just kind of slapped it there. And then those specific numbers feel intentional, and that increases the believability of your ad. And obviously, the more that people believe your ad, the more likely that they'll buy from your ad. So that's really important. And then the last part, I labeled as emotion. And you're like, emotion? I don't get it. You have to think about this. Without seeing that you have 1,249 unanswered emails, that is emotional. Imagine looking at your watch, your smartwatch, and seeing that you have so many, that's overwhelming. You just want to know the time. And so you look at your watch and you feel like, oh my God, I got to catch up with those. How many people are, and you feel overwhelmed. And so the simplicity of this really nails it. So scrolling back up to the ad, when you see the simplicity of the watch, the white background, the one line, it's just like, don't you just want to know the time without seeing that you have all this crap to do? Great ad. Really emotionally driven, really understands the target reader, really simple, unique selling proposition. One of my favorites. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. Let's keep going. The next one is by New Balance, which, by the way, every ad that I'm showing you here are companies that I've personally bought stuff from. And this is one of the ways that I dissect ads, is because I actually try and find, hey, what makes me interested that I'm willing to pull out my own money and spend with these companies? Oftentimes, dissecting your own buying habits will teach you more about copywriting than anything else, because it'll teach you to understand the feelings that persuaded you into buying. Okay, so New Balance, actually, I didn't buy New Balance off this ad, but I've had New Balances for a long time. When I saw this ad, I said, this is wonderful. All right, so New Balance, worn by supermodels in London and dads in Ohio. Okay, lot to break down here. This is not a true direct response copywriting ad. So some of the purists in here might be like, Alin, give me something better to dissect. This is more of like a brand ad. However, when you see this, you are definitely more attached to the brand, and you understand that there's only a few things that one brand could say that no other brand could say. And New Balance has taken that to the next level, where it's very few things that it's very few other brands out there that can say worn by supermodels in London and dads in Ohio. Very few brands that could say that. And so when you find the thing that your brand is so uniquely equipped to say, and just saying that part, that infinitely makes your ad a lot better. So if I were to say the most comfortable sneaker out there, okay, that's a benefit. It's a line, it's all, but anybody can say that. Adidas can say that. Nike can say that. And New Balance is saying worn by supermodels in London and dads in Ohio. Very unlikely that almost any other brand can say that. Now, let me break down the line in itself. Is the first one, and the most obvious thing, is the juxtaposition. Supermodels juxtaposes dads, London juxtaposes Ohio, okay? And so that juxtaposition has fantastic imagery where you're like, oh my gosh, the contrast makes it more real. Like oil and vinegar, you see the separation. And when you see that, you feel it, you think about it, it's imagery in your mind. And so it actually brings it to life. You start picturing a supermodel in London wearing New Balances and dads in Ohio cutting the grass wearing New Balances. And so that juxtaposition really makes you think a lot more about it. Really great way. Or contrast, if you want to think about it a little bit more simply. The next thing is relatability. What you might be wanting to be like a supermodel, dressing, fashion, brand, right? Or you might be a dad in Ohio. I'm a dad. I'm not in Ohio, but I'm a dad. And so when you kind of wear it, you're like, that's kind of hilarious. Yeah, like normal guys like me are wearing the same clothes as these high fashion people. Kind of funny. And so it's just relatable. It makes it feel like your reader could honestly be anyone, which is very ironic because typically you want to target one specific, very niche or reader, and New Balance can really conquer and say, honestly, everybody wears our shoes. Really cool. And then lastly, specificity. You're going to see that sprinkled throughout, but they could have just said worn by people in the UK as well as people in the US, right? That's so broad. Or like worn by ladies in the UK and worn by guys in the US. No, they said worn by supermodels in London and dads in Ohio. You're getting really specific with it. Okay, but not so specific that it's like worn by Vanessa Hudgens as well as blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can, that's celebrity marketing. But overall, great line, great juxtaposition, super simple, which you'll notice about all these ads. And so that's a great one. You can steal that one for your headline bank. Now, let's go to the last one. And the last one you might have seen a million times, or this might be your first time seeing it, but it would be a dishonor for me to not break this ad down for you. So Apple, of course, we all probably have owned or own an Apple product. This is by far one of the best copywriting lines ever to exist, okay? iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. Again, just Apple doing what they do best, simplicity at its finest. Let's break down this line. First one being simplicity. I just mentioned it. Sometimes we complicate copywriting so much. We think of all these benefits and we make all this writing and things, and we think that our writing is going to persuade it. But at the end of the day, actually, this ad hits so hard because of its simplicity. Specifically, I'm stealing some context from Hemingway, who very well, he wasn't a copywriter, but he was a writer. And one of the reasons he was so popular as a writer was that he wrote at such a easy to read level, a 5th grade level. In fact, Joe Sugarman teaches that in his book, The Adweek Copywriting Handbook, is that the average American reads at a 5th grade level, which means using simple words that they truly understand and nothing sophisticated. And this ad, 1,000 songs in your pocket, is so dead simple that anybody could understand that. But it's not easy to get to this point, because when you look at this, there's all kinds of ways that they could have run this ad. They could have said 5 gigabytes of storage now available, the only blah blah blah. They could have done all that stuff, and it wouldn't have made any sense. It would have been like, huh? What's that? What's 5 gigabytes of storage? Like, what is this? And they could have made just really fancy, complicated verbiage, but they didn't do that. They took it down to its essence, and it said, what is the specific, simple benefit? Like, what does this thing do? And what it does with all that storage and all that stuff, the benefit to the reader is 1,000 songs in your pocket. It's small enough to fit in your pocket, and it has enough storage to put 1,000 songs on it. So simple, but oftentimes we even say things like small enough to fit in your pocket, big enough to hold 1,000 songs. Even that is more complicated. It's a good line, but even that is more complicated than just saying 1,000 songs in your pocket. Bearing it down, anytime you could say the same thing in less words, your copy will be better. And this is a perfect example of that. Obviously, specificity, 1,000 songs, instead of saying a lot of songs in your pocket, you say 1,000 songs. That's obviously better. And then the benefit. This is the other part that is really, really important, because a lot of the engineers wanted to talk about the breakthrough in the iPod, because at that time, a huge breakthrough was 5 gigabytes. Nobody had ever put 5 gigabytes in a music player. Now in 2024, 2025, sounds crazy. You're like, what? I've got like 1,000,000 gigabytes of everything. Right, exactly. But when they dropped this, there was no such thing. And so 5 gigabytes, they want to be like, we have to tell people. But your ideal customer had no idea what that meant. They're like, is that a lot? Is that a little? Is that good? How many songs is that? Like, how much data does that do? And so that's a feature of the product. 5 gigabytes is a feature of the product. What is the benefit of that feature? And the benefit of that feature is 1,000 songs. The user experiences the benefit, not the feature. The feature talks about us, the benefit talks about them. And whenever you're writing copy, you always want to talk about your customer, never about yourself, because it's about solving their problems. And this is one of the best ways to do that. So great line. Those are 3 great ads, one from Timex, New Balance, and Apple. And if you like this breakdown, let me know. I hope that I can make you some more just by your feedback. So before you head out, was this helpful? And if it was, go to my website, alindragu.com. Join my email list where I give you copywriting tips every single day. Once a day, I will jump into your inbox and give you some copywriting tips, tell you some amazing stories. And in fact, when you join my email list, I give you a gift. I give you Copywriting Catalyst, which is 67 cash cow copywriting tips just for you to study, enjoy, and learn copywriting today. Super simple, super easy. I hope this video was great for you, and I'll catch you on the next one.